Hello everyone, so this is the question that is on everybody's minds. What are the 5 things? What are the 3 things? What is the one thing that I can do to be more sustainable, to reduce my carbon footprint? That is the question that everyone always wants the answer to. Hopefully in this video I'm going to answer you, but keep in mind that there really is no one answer. There are so many different answers, there are so many different opinions, and there are so many different ways that we can be more sustainable. I want to give you some of the things that I think are really accessible and really doable, and also are going to make a big difference. But keep in mind, I'm not a scientist, I can't predict the future, I can't look into my globe and say this is what you can do because this is the answer. I don't have the answer. However, I do have some tips, I do have some ideas, I do have some things that, based off of my own research and my own knowledge and my own experience, that I think can make a really big difference. Also, let me know in the comments what you think personally are the top 5 things that you can do to live more sustainably. Please do let me know, because there are so many different opinions, there's so many different thought processes on this. One thing I do want to discuss though, before I get into it, is that it really isn't an individual responsibility, it's a collective responsibility. That's us as people, that's governments, that's businesses, that's companies, that's the world as a whole. We're not going to save this planet by just taking a coffee cup to the cafe every day. Like, obviously, there's so much more nuance to this. It's so much more complicated. So keep that in mind and remember that it's about our general attitude, how we are living, and making big changes overall. But if you want to live more sustainably in your day-to-day life, then hopefully these will help you out. So the first and biggest thing, I think, or one of the biggest things, is to be more food conscious. We eat 3, 4, 5 times a day, and that food's come from somewhere. We all know by now that animal foods are much worse for the environment than plant foods. Doesn't mean you have to go vegan, because I know that for some people that's not doable, and it doesn't mean also that people who do eat meat in poorer countries or in lower income families are bad people, because they aren't. I'm just saying, if you have the ability to eat less meat, then that's quite a good thing to do, because you're going to reduce your carbon footprint immediately. A vegetarian's carbon footprint is much lower than meat eaters, and then a vegan's is even lower, because you're just kind of cutting out the middleman. An animal has to eat plants. So if you just go straight for the plants, you're saving all the waste, the resources, the food, the water that goes into looking after an animal for food. On top of that, if you think about where your food comes from, if you try and source from local farmers, if you try and eat seasonally, if you are aware of your food waste and you compost your food and you don't throw things away, if you're aware of the packaging that your food comes in, these are all ways we can be more food conscious, and it can be something that is a journey and takes time, but if you start to learn about it, it can be something that just is a lifestyle change. One thing I like to think about is kind of imagining what my parents and my grandparents did, because it kind of goes back to basics. So they wouldn't have been going to supermarkets buying lots of pre-packaged foods that are ready meals and things wrapped in plastic, things from halfway across the world, things out of season. They would have been going to their local greengrocers, buying from local farmers and local people, probably wrapped in paper bags, or they would have brought their own bag, and they would have cooked stuff and eaten it and had the leftovers and really avoided throwing food away. They would have also treated some foods as luxuries and other foods as basics and not overdone it. If I think more like them, I think more sustainably, and that's being more food conscious. So maybe that thought process might help you if you're trying to think about how you can personally be more food conscious. But there are so many ways we can, and it can be a journey. I'm aware that food is a sensitive topic for a lot of people. So if this is not an area of sustainability that you can work on right now, then hopefully the other ones you can. Number 2 is to travel more responsibly. The conversation around flying has really come up a lot more in the past year. It definitely has for me. I used to fly without really thinking about it. I hate flying. And I used to preach about veganism and sustainability and not ever really consider the amount I was flying and going on holidays. So if there is a way that you can get somewhere which doesn't involve flying, then try that. Try getting the train to a country if you can, because I know for me, living in the UK, I can get the Eurostar to France, I can get the Eurostar to Belgium, I can get a train up to Scotland, and there are so many different ways that I can travel that don't involve flying. That doesn't mean I'm never going to fly again, but it does mean that I'm going to be more conscious and responsible with travel. Similarly, if you go abroad every single year, why not try every other year doing a staycation? Wherever you live, I'm sure tourists visit, and maybe there are places that you've never even gone to before. I know in the UK there are so many places I've never visited. I've barely spent any time in the north. I lived in Scotland for a long time, but I've not really spent much time in the north of England. And this year I really want to go on holiday somewhere in the north to experience my own country and places that people go as tourists. It's probably the same in your country, I'm sure, near you. There's somewhere that you can go that doesn't involve flying that you're going to really have a great time and you're going to enjoy it, and you're going to have just the same experience as you would, not just the same, but you'll have a fun experience like you would abroad. This also applies to traveling every single day. Maybe you drive to work every day when you could cycle because it's not that far away. Maybe you drive to your gym when you could cycle to your gym or walk to your gym. Maybe you drive to work and there's someone that goes to work with you who actually lives nearby that you could share the driving with, so you're not taking two cars, you're just taking one. Also, you can take public transport, get the bus, get the train. I think the convenience thing and the convenience aspect of travel is kind of difficult sometimes, but there are definitely ways that we can work around it because it's having such a massive impact, and it's the people who are living in places like the UK that are flying the most and that are going on holiday the most and that are travelling the most and being the most unsustainable. It also applies to how you travel. It isn't just the form of transportation. It's bringing reusables with you so that you can avoid all the single-use plastic that comes with travelling. It's being respectful of the local culture and the local people that you do visit, because tourists are annoying. I live in Cornwall in the UK where there are lots of tourists in the summer, and they're really annoying. They leave litter everywhere, they drive irresponsibly, and I often feel like you aren't caring about the environment, you're not caring about the people here, and that's frustrating. So I'm sure other people do feel that in other places which maybe I've visited before. I've probably been an annoying tourist in the past. Don't be them. Try and be invisible. Don't go stand outside people's doors and take photographs, because that's annoying. Shop local, eat local, use local tour companies, and support the local economy when you are traveling somewhere so that you're being more responsible in the process. Another huge thing we can all do is to shop less, and if you are shopping, then try and shop secondhand or shop for something that already exists. Shopping is a huge issue. It's what capitalism is all about: buying, buying, buying. I'm not saying that I'm exempt from it. I buy stuff. Clearly, I'm a human being living in the UK. I buy stuff. However, I'm way more conscious now of the things I'm buying. I'm trying to buy now mostly secondhand, trying to buy from local companies, small businesses, from places like Etsy, going to my local high street and supporting small brands there. That is my focus, rather than just buying everything the cheapest I can find it, getting good deals and getting it as quick as I can. If we were all to be more mindful of this, it could make a massive difference. I want everyone to embrace minimalism, which is why I really try and make it accessible, because it's not about having a white house with barely anything in it and only owning 20 items of clothing. Like, that's just such a simplified, stereotypical version of minimalism. It's just about being mindful of what you own and mindful of what you buy. It's as simple as that. And if we were to all do that, we would all reduce our carbon footprint so dramatically, because at the end of the day, what we consume is, you know, the resources we use, the waste we produce, the impact we have. That's what it comes down to, what we are consuming. So next time you want something, try and find it secondhand or from a small business. So if you really want a red jumper, instead of just going online, typing red jumper, buying from the first place you can find it that's affordable, go to your local charity shops, go to your local vintage shops, go and find a local designer maybe. Look online to see if there are any sustainable brands that you can support. Look on Etsy, look on eBay. Ask a friend if they have a red jumper that they don't wear anymore. Like, there are so many things that you can do before buying new. Another thing which I harp on about all the time is to switch to renewable energy. The reason I harp on about it is because we need to phase out fossil fuels. Fossil fuels are so damaging to our planet. I feel like it's the thing that you learn in school the most about, but people don't talk about it as much anymore. People talk a lot about plastic and they talk a lot about fast fashion, because they're really terrible things. But I don't hear as many people talking about renewable energy anymore. When I was growing up in school, people would be like, renewable energy, that's what we've got to do. And we do like, I don't know, school courses and stuff on renewable energy, like solar energy and wind energy and stuff. If you can switch to a renewable energy supplier for your home, then you know that all the electricity you're using is coming from renewable energy rather than fossil fuels. Like, how powerful is that? If all homes in the UK did that, think about the impact we could have. Like, that's just so powerful to me. I personally use Octopus Energy. I've worked with them in the past. They aren't sponsoring this video. However, I do have a link for them, which means that you get £50 and I get £50 when we sign up. It really doesn't take very long at all to sign up and switch. It's very simple, and it's something that I would encourage everybody to do. Number 5 is the waste that you're producing. This is definitely one of the harder things when it comes to sustainability, because human beings create a lot of waste. Every bit of food we eat creates waste. Every single thing you buy comes in packaging, which creates waste. It is just never ending. I get really frustrated looking at my bin and seeing the waste that I've produced. I get annoyed looking at my recycling, seeing the waste I've produced. If you aren't composting your food already, for example, then start composting your food, because when you put food into landfill, it can't break down like it does in compost, and it will create some harmful gases, and it's going to just get stuck there in landfill for a lot longer than it would if it just broke down in your compost. If you have your own compost bin, or if you get your food waste collected, or if you're able to give it to a local garden, then the food can go back into the earth and it can be a nice, lovely, complete cycle. Similarly, if you can take your own reusables to the supermarket, or if you can take your own reusables to your local farm shop or greengrocers, that's again going to be cutting out a lot of waste and recycling. If you can just be more aware of the waste you're producing, maybe you could do a challenge where for the next 30 days you track all the waste you're producing. You don't throw your bin liners out, you go through them and you look at what waste you've produced. That can be a really insightful and eye-opening way to see what you personally are wasting. This is an area that we can all improve on, and it's an area that can be harder or easier for different people depending on your lifestyle. But if you can be honest with yourself about the waste that you're creating, then you can make a really big difference. It's not about being zero waste, don't get me wrong. It's about being mindful of your waste, because I just don't think zero waste is doable for like 99.999% of the population. So that's why I don't really ever refer to zero waste. But if you can just be more mindful and be more aware, reduce where you can, then yeah, you can make a massive difference. So I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know what your thoughts are. Do you agree? Do you disagree? I go into so much more detail on all of these things in my book, Minimal: How to Simplify Your Life and Live Sustainably. It is a book that is comprehensive in all of these topics. There's 8 chapters on every single area of your life, including these topics, including food, travel, waste, minimalism. And it's 300 pages long with lots of information. There's diagrams, there's stuff you can fill out, there's facts, there's tips. It is my baby. I worked so hard on it. So if you want to know more about this, how you can personally reduce your carbon footprint and how you personally can live more sustainably, then that's the best place I can point you in the direction of, because I wrote it, that's all the information I have, and hopefully it can change your life for the new year. I'll leave a link to it in the description down below. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye! Roxy! 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 Mommy! Mommy! Look at this puppy! Look at this puppy. What's your carbon footprint looking like? Huh? Is your carbon footprint really bad? Here's Daddy.
Hey Daddy.
Hey Daddy. Hey Daddy.
Hey Daddy.
Hey Daddy.
Hello.
Oh my god, her bum was going.